Ako si Kalikasan, ang inang kalikasan. Mahigit 4.5 bilyong taon na akong narito. 22,500 ulit na higit kaysa inyo. Hindi ko kailangan ng tao, ngunit kailangan ako ng tao. Sa akin nakasalalay ang kinabukasan ninyo. Yayabong kayo sa pagyabong ko. Kung masira ako, ay malulugso kayo o higit pa. Libo-libong taon na akong narito. Pinakain ang mga nilikhang higit kaysa inyo. Mula sa aking karagatan, lupa at batis ay maari ko kayong bigyan o bawian. Bigyang halaga niyo man ako o hindi, walang halaga sa akin. Sa paano mang paraan, kayo ang magtatakda ng inyong kapalaran. Hindi ako. Ako ang kalikasan. Magpapatuloy ako. Handa ako sa pag-inog. Kayo.
Ako ang karagatan. Ako ay tubig. Ako ang kalakang bahagi ng daigdig. Binigyang hugis ko ito. Bawat batis, bawat ulap, bawat patak ng ulan. Bumabalik lahat ng ito sa akin. Sa iba't ibang paraan, kailangan ako ng lahat ng nilikha. Ako ang pinagmulan nang dahil sa akin ay gumapang ang buhay papalabas. Ang tao, hindi kayo kaiba. Wala akong utang sa inyo. Nagbibigay ako, kinukuha ninyo, ngunit maaari ko itong bawiin. Ganoon na yon noon pa. Hindi inyo ang daigdig. Hindi noon, hindi kailanman. Ngunit inaangkin ninyong mga tao ang higit sa dapat. Nilalason niyo ako at inaasahang busugin ko kayo. Hindi ganun yun. Kung nais ninyo na mabuhay sa akin at mula sa akin, makinig kayong mabuti. Minsan ko lang to sasabihin. Kung hindi magiging malusog ang kalikasan, hindi mabubuhay ang tao. Ako ang karagatan. Minsan ko nang nilunod ang buong mundo at maaari ko itong lunurin muli. Yun lang.
Ako ang tahanan, ang nagbibigay sa inyo ng kapanatagan, ang kanlungan ng inyong pamilya. Pagmasdan ninyo kung ano ako. Tahanan, mapagkalingan. Ako ang inyong tanggulan, ang sahig na inyong tapakan, ang haligi na nagpapatatag, ang dingding ng inyong kublihan, ang bubong na nagtatanggol. Ako ang inyong tahanan. Kung ako'y inyong pababayaan, hindi ko kayo maaalagaan.
Ako ang bahura, ang coral reef. Marami ang nag-aakala na bato lamang ako. Ngunit ako ang pinakamalaking buhay na nilalang sa mundo. Subalit gaano ito katagal? Lumaki ako sa loob ng 250 milyong taon. Ngunit dumating ang tao. At ngayon, 20% na ang nawala sa akin. Totoo, sa kailaliman ng dagat ako nabubuhay at hindi niyo madalas nakikita. Ngunit kailangan ninyo ako. Alam ba niyo na 25% ng buhay sa dagat ay umaasa sa akin? Ako ang tagapangalaga ng dagat. Ang nagpapakain sa mumunting isda at kanlungan nila laban sa malalaki. At sino ang kumakain ng malalaking isda? Hulaan niyo. Tama. Kayo. Sa akin nagmumula ang protina ng mundo. Ngunit hinayaan ninyong uminit ang karagatan. At hindi na ako maaaring mamuhay dito. Kapag dumating ang bagyo at tsunami, ako ang nagsasanggalang sa inyo. Ngunit winawasak ninyo ako ng dinamita at nilalaso ng cyanide. May sasabihin ako sa inyo. Huwag ninyo akong patayin.
Ako ang kagubatan. Minasdan ko ang taong dumami at lumaki. Umaalis sila at nagbabalik. Pabalik-balik. Para sa aking mga puno at iba't ibang kahoy. Para sa aking mga halaman at gamot na taglay. Para sa aking kagandahan na kanilang kanlungan. Lagi akong narito para sa kanila. At naging mapagbigay ako. Kung minsan, ibinibigay ko ang lahat. Ngayon, ubos na ang lahat-lahat. Matalino ang tao. Napakatalino. Malalaki ang utak at mapanlikha ang mga kamay. Marunong silang lumikha ng kamanghamanghang bagay. Bakit kung gayon, kailangan pa nila ang matandang gubat gaya ko? Para sa punong kahoy? Humihinga sila. Gumagawa ako ng hangin. Naisip kaya nila yon? Matalino ang tao. May isip nila yon. Gagawa sila ng hangin. Masayang panoorin yon pagdating ng panahon.
Aangat tayo muli. Ito ang paniniwalang ating panghahawakan. Sa ngayon,
Happy Wednesday po to all our participants, sa mga nakatutok po sa atin dito sa Zoom, and to everyone joining us via Facebook Live. Magandang umaga po sa inyong lahat. You can invite your friends and colleagues to join this webinar and share the Zoom link. Isa na naman pong araw ng talakayan at pagkatuto ang pagsasamahan natin ngayon dito sa paborito nating DTI Consumer Care Webinar Series. Para po sa ating mga bagong participant, ang programa pong ito ng DTI Consumer Policy and Advocacy Bureau ay naglalayong magbahagi ng kaalaman sa kung paano tayo mas magiging wais, mapanuri at malayang mga mamimili. I am Ira Espagaduan from the Consumer Policy and Advocacy Bureau, and I will be your moderator for today's webinar. Noong nakaraang linggo, napag-usapan natin ang consumer protection and security policies in e-payment platforms. Ngayong araw, sa ating 160th webinar session, makakasama natin ng isang very capable speaker para naman ibahagi sa atin ang mga tip for taxpayers and online filing of taxes. Pero bago po tayo magsimula, we would like to give some reminders. Unang-una, ang ating webinar session po ay recorded. By continuing your participation in the meeting, you are also consenting that you may be recorded. We are encouraging you to stay at samahan niyo po kami hanggang matapos at sabay-sabay tayong matuto sa topic natin ngayong umaga. Ang mga sumusunod na reminders ay para masiguro na smooth ang ating webinar session. Pakipalitan po ang format ng inyong pangalan, maaaring consumer space, full name, o di po kaya ay pangalan ng company, then your complete name. Kung masyadong mahaba naman po ang pangalan ng company, kahit acronym na lamang po ang gamitin. Please turn off your mic and video during the webinar session unless you are requested by the moderator to speak. Para sa mga tanong, we are encouraging everyone to click the raise hand button to directly address the speaker during the question and answer portion, or you may send in your questions through the chat box. At panghuli, para po sa mga naka-touch screen device, please avoid drawing or making annotations on the screen para hindi po ma-distract ang ating speaker at iba pang mga participant. Without further ado, let us begin this webinar session by singing the Philippine National Anthem to be followed by the invocation.
Mga kababayan, ang pambansang awit ng Pilipinas. Kayang magiliw, telas ng sinakanan, alam ng puso, sa dibdib mo'y buhay. Lupang hinirang, tuyag ka ng magiting, sa manlulupin, di ka pasisingil, sa nagagang tutok sa simoy at sa langit ng bagaw, ay hinagang tulad, awit sa pagkayang minamahal. Ang isang ng matawad mo'y tagumpay na nag-iindig, ang bituin at araw niya kailan pa may di magdidinig. Lumalang araw ng walhagit pagsinta, buhay langit sa piling ko. Ang inigaya ng pagkay mga aking, ang mamatay ng dahil sa'yo.
Loving Heavenly Father, we come to you this hour asking for your blessing as we are gathered together in this webinar. May your blessings of wisdom and guidance be upon us all for the sharing and impartation of knowledge and skills by our resource speakers, facilitators, and moderators. Bless also the participants so that they would be able to glean the information from this activity and share what we have learned in the spirit of your generosity. Lord, we bring you our prayers, our commitment, our gifts to you this day. Let us who have a keen dedication and awareness of your creation have courage and conviction that we are able to contribute to the sustainability of the earth. Inspire us as we make choices so that we will recognize the impact our lives have on our environment and our human family around the globe. Pour out your blessings upon us today, Lord. May each of our actions reveal our awareness that we are partners with you in the creation and sustainability of this earth that you have given to us to appreciate and enjoy. We ask this in the name of your Son. Amen.
Good morning po ulit sa ating mga participant. Tulad po ng nabanggit kanina, matututunan natin ngayon ang mga tip for taxpayers and online filing of taxes. Sana po pagkatapos ng webinar na ito ay mas magamit natin ang makabagong teknolohiya para sa mas mabilis na pagbabayad ng tax. To formally start our session for today, we would like to call the Assistant Director of the Consumer Policy and Advocacy Bureau, Attorney Cheryl Carbonell. Good morning po, Attorney Che.
Good morning, Ira, and good morning po sa lahat ng mga nanonood sa atin today sa Zoom, sa Facebook Live, at saka po sa DTI YouTube channel. So today is the 160th Consumer Care Webinar Series. This is still part of our celebration of the World Consumer Rights Day. So if you recall po, nag-start tayo noong March 1 with BSP, and then we also had GCash and Paymaya discuss about yung e-payment platforms, kasi the theme of the World Consumer Rights Day is on fair digital finance. So for today, we're having a topic about tax. I just want to point out lang din yung importansya ng pagbabayad ng tax, because tax is the lifeblood of the nation. Ito yung ginagamit ng gobyerno para magkaroon tayo ng iba't ibang programa para sa welfare ng ating mga mamamayan. So it is our duty, di ba, as citizens, na magbayad ng tax. So ito ay isang kumbaga yun nga, duty siya. And ito parang, di ba, sabi nga nila, ask not what your country can do for you, but ask what you can do for your country. So, and this is one of them. So maraming mga klase ng tax, di ba? Merong income tax. So kung business person ka, marami kang binabayarang tax. And then also kung sa property, kung may property ka, magbabayad ka ng real property tax. Kung binenta mo, may capital gains tax, di ba? Meron din consumption tax. It's called yung value-added tax naman. But I think for today, what Ms. Melanie of Taxumo will discuss will be more about yung mga business taxes, income taxes. So yun, but ang problema natin, di ba, is medyo complicated yung pag-file ng tax also, tsaka medyo stressful. So, but fortunately, yung government then through the BIR, meron na silang mga innovations about filing taxes. So, pwede ka nang mag-file online, pwede ka nang magbayad via GCash or Paymaya kung meron kang mga e-wallet, ganyan. And also, ang Taxumo naman as a private sector, meron din silang innovations on filing taxes. So, for today, yan yung ating mga matututunan ng mga tips at saka yung online filing of taxes. So we have with us Ms. Melanie Santiago. Maraming salamat po for accommodating the CPG for this webinar. So to proceed, I turn over again the virtual floor to Ayla. Thank you very much.
Thank you po, Attorney Che. Tulad po ng nabanggit ni Attorney Che to discuss the tips for taxpayers in online filing of taxes, we are very fortunate to have with us today a very capable speaker from Taxumo, Ms. Melanie Santiago. Ms. Melanie Santiago is a tax awareness. Ms. Melanie Santiago is a tax awareness advocate. She served as a customer service representative and now the product manager in Taxumo. Co-owning a business made her understand taxation from another perspective. As an event director of Manila workshops, she has helped freelancers, licensed professionals, and business owners in their journey of complying and optimizing tax compliance. Good morning po, Ms. Santiago. The virtual floor is now yours.
Magandang umaga. Let me just turn on my camera, but I'm gonna turn it off for a while after this kasi I have slow bandwidth ng internet. So, hang on. So, share my screen. Hang on po. Bear with me on the internet connection. Ayan, ganito talaga. Sorry, nasa-press wrong button. Maraming salamat. Thank you everyone for joining us on this Basics of Taxes. isa sa nagustuhan ko during the prayer was yung awareness and dedication for the sustainability of the earth. And I'd like to paraphrase that, yung dedication and awareness for the sustainability of the Philippines. So, kasi nga, nabanggit ni Attorney Che, and thank you for the generous opportunity to share our passion to simplify taxes, because yun nga, tama si Attorney Che, ang pagbabayad ng buwis ay lifeblood of our country, our economy, lalo ngayon na pandemic ano. So, we don't want this to be a burden more than, it's an opportunity to help our country and our nation really na makabangon. So, let me proceed. So, uunahin natin ang registration. Paano ba ito? Okay, sige. So, ang unang konteksto na medyo confused ang mga business people, mga professionals, and even consumers who plan to have a business is on the context of registration. When will I do this? Kailan ko siya sisimulan? At paano? Saan akong agency pupunta? So, for the registration, may mga katanungan kang pwedeng sagutin sa sarili mo. And to be honest, it would be best that you know your option, kasi ikaw lang din ang makakaalam kung ano yung goal mo bilang business person or bilang professional. So, on the context of registration, pwede kang mamili if you want to register as a professional. And as a professional, ito yung mga hinahire ka for your skills. May dalawang category ito. Either you can register as a licensed professional, meaning ikaw ay regulated ng PRC, at ikaw ay licensed to practice your profession. And then there are also non-licensed professional. These are people who are not regulated by PRC but are paid for their profession, for their skills. Ito yung mga napakarami ngayon na mga virtual assistants, nagwo-work online, not even just here in Philippine-based countries, but even for working for countries abroad, but they are based here in the Philippines. You can actually register as non-licensed professional. And then we also have sole proprietorship for people who want to register businesses. Usually, ito yung mga go-to pag nagbibenta ka na ng products. And yes, address ko na yung common question, yung mga online sellers, required din po talaga mag-register. It doesn't matter if you have a physical store, but if you are selling and you are in the context of business, nagbebenta ka, may bumibili sa'yo, you are also required to register. So, even if you are based at home, so pwede kang mag-sole proprietorship, or for others, partnership or corporation. So, may mga nagtatanong, saan po ba dito nagpo-fall yung OPC na naririnig ko? Corporation din po yun, or one-person corporation. But in this context, since we partnered with DTI, sa DTI kasi yung registration covers professionals and sole proprietors, kasi yung partnership and corporation registers to another entity. So we're gonna zone in, i-focus natin yung ating basics of taxes for professionals and sole proprietorships dito sa Pilipinas. So, paano ba mamimili kung ano yung registration na pwede kong i-consider? So, we have here, ito very common question, paano yung liability? Siyempre, may mga takot sila na parang, what if yung assets ko, if there's something wrong with my business, mahahabol ba yun? And then, ano ba yung level of requirements? Mahirap po ba? Matagal po ba? So, here is a simple way for you to picture out. Hindi ko na isa-isahin masyado, but for you to picture out the level of requirements and liability for each of the registration. So, you will see here for professional, we're gonna go through the regulatory requirements. For professional, medyo mas konti, like across all the entities that you have to register. So, mas konti siya. And then for sole proprietor, syempre mas marami kasi this is a business entity. And then mas maraming requirements you have to submit when you are a partnership, lalo pag corporation. Now, in terms of liability naman, if you are a professional and sole proprietor, when you register, ang dala-dala mong tax identification number ay sa'yo. So, when you register, kunyari, may tax identification number ka when you were a employee, and then nagrehistro ka bilang professional right now kasi you are practicing your profession already, or meron ka ng business, makikita mo yung tax identification number mo. is actually yours. So meaning, anything that happens to your profession or business, you are personally liable. Okay. Now for partnership, medyo malayo-layo ng konti kasi it's a different entity already, hindi lang ikaw. And then for corporation, medyo hindi masyado na personally liable. Actually, hindi ka na personally liable, but since corporation is also seen by the government as what they call juridical entity, if I'm not mistaken, it's not an individual entity. So, syempre, kung ano yung assets na nailagay mo on the corporation, yun yung pwedeng habulin in terms of liability. But of course, we want to go away with that. Kaya nga isa sa mga paraan para maiwasan yung mga ganong circumstances is for you to learn taxes. And personally, as when we started our business, ito yung mga bagay na hindi ko alam ng options. But it would help pala if naiintindihan mo ang taxes because you can consider that whenever you do proposals to businesses sa mga costing mo, if a-factor in mo na pala yung taxes kasi nga part siya nung pag-ikot ng pera mo. Taxes has to be considered in all of the partnerships, mga transactions, mga costing ng products mo para hindi ka end of the day nagugulat na akala mo, kita mo na to, babawasan pa ng tax. Dapat in first hand, alam mo na yon. So, on the registration context, dito muna tayo sa registration, we're gonna simplify how it looks like. So, in my journey as customer support for a tax software provider accredited by BIR, ito yung mga medyo nalilito yung mga tao. Kailan ba nag-SEC? Kailan ba nag-DTI? Kailan ba pupunta sa LGU, sa munisipyo, at kailan kay BIR? So, for professionals, it's optional to register for DTI kasi in that context, merong mga professionals that we've encountered that they don't want to use their personal name on their receipts, on their branding. So they want to register a specific trade name na they want na sila lang yung gumagamit. So of course, DTI provides a platform to make sure that you don't have duplicates of your trade name, protected yung trade name mo na kunyari on the regional, municipal, naka-reserve siya for you or on the national level. So may mga professionals who go with that. Now, for sole proprietorship naman, ito talaga yung required dumaan to DTI. Kasi yung for sole proprietor, even if you bear your personal name or your trade name, kailangan may DTI registrations ka. It is actually required. But for professionals, we've encountered cases that BIR naman accepted the registration kahit hindi na sila dumaan ng DTI. So, this is something we can say as optional kasi we don't see na talagang nire-require professionals na DTI. But for sole proprietors, yes, it is. So dito ka dumadaan talaga. So usually, ito yung first step. And of course, I think you're all aware nasa consumer care tayo ng DTI and there are means as well that you can register online. So this is one of the innovations ng government talaga na you don't have to go to the office at mag-check doon, line up. You can actually register your trade name online. You can pay for it online and receive a digital copy of your registration. So there's an option for that. And then after DTI, ito ang usually first step ng mga professionals and sole proprietors. They go to LGU na. So ano ba tong LGU? Ito yung munisipyo, ito yung barangay level. Most of the time, nauna ka sa barangay kasi may mga barangay permits na isa-secure ninyo. One common thing that we want you to take note of is kung saang LGU ka magre-rehistro, dapat doon po yung address ng business na i-rehistro ninyo. So for example, if you will register in, let's say, Quezon City, okay, dapat yung address na nasa requirements ninyo na isa-submit sa LGU at sa BIR ay doon sa city ngayon kung saan ka magre-rehistro. Okay? So, hindi po pwedeng nasa ibang lugar kasi i-register nyo dito na city kasi may jurisdictions po ang LGU level. So, syempre, kung saang barangay ka, doon ka kukuha ng permits and then kung saang munisipyo, doon din kukuha ng permits. So, ganun po. Sa professional, hindi business permits ang ini-issue sa kanila. There's what you call occupational tax receipt or professional tax receipt. There's para siyang may binabayaran ka ring certain value sa LGU ninyo and then you will secure resibo siya, meaning you've gone through the registration sa LGU, may record pa sa kanila. So that's occupational tax receipt para sa mga non-licensed professional. and professional tax receipt para sa professional. For LGU naman, for sole proprietors, ito mga business entity, lahat dumadaan yan. Mga sole proprietor, partnership, and corporation, dumadaan po talaga sila sa LGU level. We've encountered question na, nag-SEC na po ako direction ng BIR. Dapat po nagre-register din kayo sa local government unit ninyo. And as you see, BIR, lahat po, sila ang regulating body for taxes sa Pilipinas. So, regardless of what entity you are, kasi some people say, hindi naman ako business, I don't have to register to BIR. That's a common misconception. So, even if you are professional, yung mga online workers, virtual assistants, lahat po dumadaan ng BIR. The fact that you are in transaction, you're paid for your services or your products, dapat nakarehistro ka po kay BIR. So, lahat po yan re-register kay BIR. For SEC naman, ang dumadaan sa SEC, and this is the reason why mas maraming regulatory requirements for partnership and corporation, is because you go through SEC. Hindi na sila dumadaan yung partnership and corporation to DTI, which is also the reason why we're not gonna tackle much about partnership and corporation in this session. So, ano ba yung steps ulit? You have your DTI or SEC. Kung partnership or corporation, mag-SEC ka. Other than that, professional to sole proprietor DTI. And then, magrehistro ka sa LGU mo, that's barangay and municipal level. And then you have BIR. Okay. So, ang daming phases ng registration, no? Walk through ko lang kayo, napakabilis. So, for DTI, ayan, I'm not sure how to hide this kasi hindi masyado ako techie person. Baba ko ng konti. Alright. So, merong mga territorial scope. As far as you know, we have the barangay or city or municipality level, regional and national. Ang point for this is, to what territorial scope do you want to reserve the name of the trade name of your business? Ayan. And then you also have on the facility of DTI online, pwede mo siyang ma-search if the name that you want for your business is already taken. And then you can input there kung ano yung mga words that you want to be included in your trade name. So makikita mo naman doon, very straightforward yung platform ni DTI. And then, of course, may mga requirements doon, may mga certain protocols that you have to follow. And then, it's auto-generated naman. Plus, you can also check the availability if ever you're not sure. Kasi some people we talk to, nakakalimutan kung kailan ba sila nag-register kay DTI. Or registered na ba ako, lalo if they ask someone to process it for them. And they're not really sure kung tapos na sila mag-DTI. So, there's a facility to check for that. You can go through payment. And to all the DTI personnel here, if ever hindi po updated yung aming information, feel free to correct me like after the session po if ever nag-update na po kayo ng processes. But this is as far as we know. And then the payment must be completed in 7 days. And then you can download your certificate of business registration. Ganun kaswabe po when you register to DTI. You can do it online na. Now for LGU and BIR, okay, angat natin ng konti. Ayan. Okay, so sa LGU level, on the barangay hall, usually, and disclaimer lang po, this can vary on for each LGU kasi yung iba, sinistreamline na nila to one business. In fact, on the city that we registered, pinag-isa nila to the barangay office lahat para people don't have to crowd up sa munisipyo, lalo nung nag-pandemic. So, usually, pinag-iisa nila. Or merong mga few cities right now that has the facility para mag-register ka sa LGU online. So you can check the processes of your LGU. But commonly, ito po yan, may proof of residency, which I mentioned na dapat yung address that you are using is within the territory ng barangay na yung pinagre-rehistrohan. And of course, some valid IDs. You will be issued a barangay business clearance if ever you will register as a business, or an occupational tax receipt. So yung iba on the barangay level, doon na sila nag-i-issue. Meron yung iba on the munisipyo. But ito yung mga usually expected on the LGU level. So on the city hall level naman, ito yung hihingan ka na ng DTI or SEC certificate, which is the reason why on our steps na una siya. And then yung business clearance that you've secured from your barangay level, birth certificate, ayan, of course you have that. Marriage certificate, I have a certain person na kausap ko before, kailangan po ba magpakasal para ma-register ang aking business? It might sound as a joke, but people are confused. Hindi po kailangan magpakasal, okay, para mag-rehistro, okay? marriage certificate is just required if you are married. Ganun po yun. Okay, so nag-proof of billing, kasi syempre, kailangan patunay na doon ka talaga nakatira. Title of property or lease contract. If the property is not yours, sa magulang mo, sa kamag-anak mo, you can just secure a copy, hindi naman yung original, copy of the title of property, or if you're renting, a copy of the lease contract. Kasi patunay na, nandyan ka. And then, most of the time, we've encountered na nanghihingi ng authorization sa may-ari. So, if the title of property, yung owner, pwede kang maglagay ng kasulatan na authorize ka to use the place, the address as your business address. Or for lease contract, the owner ng property, authorization to use the address. So, and then pictures, kasi parang hindi na pinupuntahan talaga inside and outside, lalo pag if you're selling products, syempre, the LGU has to make sure if it's something fit for what you will register into. And then 2 valid IDs and 2x2 pictures. And then you will secure your mayor's permit or business plate sa mga magre-register as business. Fire safety inspection certificate, naka-factor in na po yan doon sa babayaran ninyong permit. Sanitary permit, environmental permit, and cedula and CGL insurance. So kasama po yan, naka-factor in yan. Makikita nyo sa resibo na ini-issue ng inyong munisipyo na naka-factor in kung magkano yung permits on that. This is also the reason why every start of the year, merong renewal of the business permits because all of these things you also have to pay again each of the year. Renewal na lang siya. After that. On the DTI naman, yung renewal, as far as we know, is 5 years based on the certificates that we've been seeing from certain people, taxpayers. So you can check on your permits as well kung kailan siya mag-expire para ma-renew ninyo ang inyong DTI certificate. But on the City Hall level, kada taon po yan, nagre-renew. In fact, nung nag-pandemic, nag-extend ng deadlines ang ibang LGU so that you can make sure that you can register. And there are cities right now who process renewal online. Hopefully, yung city ninyo is also doing that. But if ever, usually malapit lang naman kayo doon, mabilis na lang din yung processes. And we'd like to applaud a lot of the cities who've shortened the process, na streamline lahat para hindi na masyadong matagal exposed outside yung mga tao. So hopefully, may mga LGs right now na kaya ng mag-renew online, which I did this year. Hopefully, yung city ninyo kaya na rin to innovate that. So, we have to make use of technology talaga. So, and we've heard a lot of cities are going towards this, this step, yung online processes. And then step 3, BIR. Okay. Sa BIR, urong lang natin to. Okay. For BIR naman, there's Form 1905. Huwag lang po kayo malula sa forms, okay? I-explain ko lang yung konteksto nito. For RDO transfer, usually, kunyari, magre-rehistro ka ng iyong business dito sa Maynila, pero nag-start ka talaga ng trabaho sa probinsya. So, most likely, yung PIN mo na kinuha ng iyong employer ay nandun sa probinsya. Magre-rehistro ka dito sa Maynila. Usually, you will be required definitely for RDO transfer. RDO transfer, RDO means Revenue District Office. These are offices of BIR. So makita mo may mga RDO number po yan, RDO 20, RDO 19. Ang dami pong RDO sa Pilipinas. Your records are there on a certain RDO, let's say sa probinsya. Mag-apply kayo ng RDO transfer para ilipat siya kung saang city and RDO ka na magre-register ng iyong business. So there's Form 1905. During the pandemic, we've heard that BIR, some of the RDOs accommodate this request via email. So if ever some of you will want to file for transfer, you can call your RDO if they have the facility to do this via email. Pero we've heard some taxpayers na since yun nga, considering the health risk, although bumababa na ngayon ang alert level, they can process it. But some people naman, they send their documents sa kakilala nila on that area para ma-process ito. And there's a stamping, meron di ibalik confirmation na na-receive na on another RDO yung iyong records. And then after which, the initial registration steps, ayan, There's Form 1901 for professionals, and there's Payment Form 0605. Ito yung parang generic form na pwede mong gawin for renewal or if there are certain penalties. But there's this form para gamitin mo. And then, hihingan ka ulit ng DTI certificate if you're registered to DTI or for SEC. And then, you have your birth certificate. Again, marriage certificate if applicable. Billing statement, medyo similar na sila nung hinihingi sa LGU. Valid IDs, title of property of lease or lease of contract, which I explained earlier. And then, since right now, ang daming mga sumusulpot, nag-bloom na business who weren't really there before, it would help if you can, and this is usually asked, copy of client project or contract para maintindihan po ng RDO officer, ni BIR, kung ano ba yung nature of business niyo. Kasi mag-a-assign niya ng business, line of business and industry sa inyo doon sa certification ninyo. So, if ever wala pa kayong copy of client or project contract, some officers of BIR ask for a portfolio of what you do as a business or a professional para maintindihan nila and they can assess properly ano ang akmang tax form na i-assign sa iyo. And then columnar ledgers or yung mga libro na napakaraming linya, they have a prescribed form for that. Pwede mo siyang bilhin outside. And then they will tell you kung ilang libro ang kailangan mo. Kung some we've encountered, 3, merong 4, merong 6. And then you have your mayor's permit so that they can make sure if it's already registered. And then meron namang iba, we've heard na, kunyari ongoing pa yung mayor's permit registration, ina-allow nila na to follow na lang po. We're not really sure, but to be sure, you have to secure that first. Pero nung pandemic kasi medyo merong, since matagal mag-process, nag-skeletal force, inallow for some of the registration processing. But to be sure, secure nyo na lang din po ito. And then, application of authority to print receipts. So, some people think, pag nag-business ako, pwede kong gawin na lang yung resibo ko, tapos lalagyan ko ng design ko. But for BIR po, in the context of business or profession, there's an authority to print receipts. There's a specific format po. At hindi po yan pinapaprint anywhere. Meron pong authorized printers ang inyong RDO to print your invoices and receipts. After that, you will get your BIR Certificate of Registration. Ito yung naririnig nyo lagi, COR, yan po yan, Certificate of Registration, or formerly known as BIR Form 2303. And then you have your stamp books. Ano ba yung books of accounts? Ito po yung columnar ledgers ninyo na tatatakan, and then may sulat ka, may perma po doon ng officer. Meron din tong expiry, yung inyong books, so that you can record the transactions of your business. So again, magva-vary po yan. May mga taxpayers, may 3 libro, 4 na libro. For VAT payers, usually 6. Ganun po yun. And then yung approved authority to print. May tatak po yung authority to print document niyo kasi may expiry din po ang inyong resibo. Alright? And then next would be on the authorized printers. Meron lang pong, again, authorized printers, CBIR, para mag-print ng inyong resibo. Meron din po silang validity nung date you will see on your receipts until when they are authorized to print each of those receipts. Okay? So, merong approved ATP, yung authority to print, format na in-approve ng receipt ninyo. And then usually, initially, 10 booklets yan. Pag nag-expire, pwede kayong mag-renew or naubos, magpa-print ng another set of receipts. Okay? And then after which po, yung booklets po ng inyong resibo, tatakan din po EBIR. So medyo matrabaho lang siya to start, but after which, you are all set to issue receipts as well. So that you can get, clients as well, and they are sure na legit po kayo. Okay, bababa lang po natin konti. Okay, sige. Next would be, ito, ang BIR Form 2303. So, yung renewal po, since I've already mentioned renewal to DTI and to the LGU, for BIR naman, once you've registered, merong renewal or registration fee that you will have to pay as well every January. So, for this year, nasa 500 pesos pa rin siya, which you can also file online. So, this is a sample of Form 2303 or Certificate of Registration. Ito yung aside pa doon sa mga kung ano yung permits doon sa inyong LGU level, we can't show you a definite format kasi syempre iba-iba yung itsura nung LGU permits, municipal permits. But on the BIR context, ayan, yung BIR Form 2303 looks like this. You will see other businesses na merong ibang kulay. May nakita na akong blue or green of this, but doesn't really affect you at all. You will see dito yung itsura niya. Which will include your tax identification number that I mentioned. Yung TIN for individuals like sole proprietors and professional will be your personal TIN. Yung unang 9 digits, yun yung usually minimemorize ng mga tao. Yung last 3 digits are the TIN extension. So when you do payments, nagtataka yung iba, ano po yung TIN extension? Ito yung huling string of numbers on your TIN. Which you will know if that is a branch of the TIN registration mo or the main. So you have 000, this is your main registration. Pag meron ka ng mga branches, you will be issued another one, and then 001, 002. So may mga nagtanong na saan, ba't po yung dulo iba? Probably those are branches. On the taxpayer's name, if you're a corporation or partnership, ito yung trade name that you registered. But for individuals na individual taxpayers, the taxpayer's name is the name of the person who registered. So pangalan mo to. Usually yung trade name mo nandun na sa baba. But since for corporation and partnership, hindi siya individual entity, similar lang yung trade name and taxpayer's name. Your registration date is when your TIN was registered. Do not get confused kasi yung iba, yung TIN nyo, nakuha nyo na or nakuha ng employer nyo few years ago. So you will see that date kung kailan talaga na-register yung TIN ninyo. But yung registration of your business is somewhere stamped or indicated elsewhere on your certificate of registration naman. Very important for you to check. Ayan. And yung mga line of business and industry, ito yun. Ayan, yung mga nasa baba. Okay? And then, what you have to note on the context of pagbabayad at pagpa-file ng tax form ay on registered activities tax type. You should be able to see the specific forms that were assigned to you by BIR. So by hook or by crook, kailangan niyo po yung ma-file. At kung ang computation ay may tax po, kaya kailangan niyo po yung bayaran. So we'd like to correct the others na parang meron po akong barkada, same kami ng ginagawa, nag-register naman na siya, alam ko kung ano yung forms na pinafile niya, di na po ako nag-register, pinafile ko na lang. So that's a mistake kasi it can vary for each of the taxpayer. We've seen professionals na same sila ng industry but somehow nag-vary nung tax activities, even for lines of businesses, because there are other levels of assessment that BIR does. Kung extension ba yun ng business mo, kung meron ka pa bang ibang activities on your business, that they can assign appropriately taxes. So to really be sure kung ano yung tamang forms na pagbabasehan ni BIR ng pagsingil ng buwis, and in fact, ito din yung basis for penalties if ever in the future, is to really register so that you know exactly what forms you need to file. So when you renew your registration po kay BIR kada taon, hindi po ibig sabihin bibigyan ka ng bagong ganitong form. Once lang po ito when you register, and there will be probably a likelihood for them to issue a new one if you update your taxpayer records. So saka lang sila magbibigay ng bagong 2303 just in case nag-update ka ng tax forms, let's say nag-request ka from VAT, gusto mo percentage tax, na-approve ka, or naka-percentage tax ka, pumalo ka dun sa threshold for VAT, i-update siya to VAT, so probably mag-register or mag-i-issue sila. But on the renewal to BIR, you just have to pay the 500 pesos using Form 0605. So those are different contexts. Ayan, for tax compliance, I hope you bear with me. Ayan, nandito na tayo. I will not let you compute naman nung with the calculator. I won't let you memorize the tax table even. But very important for you to understand ano ba yung konteksto ng pagko-compute ng taxes. How does it affect me? Okay. So, dito sa Pilipinas, and like what Attorney Chet mentioned, ito lang yung in the context of as a professional and business. Wala pa po dito yung estate taxes, capital gains tax. Those are a whole different topic as well. But in the context of you conducting your business or profession, ito usually yung taxes in the Philippines that are applied. So the classifications would be income tax, which we will tackle. Very important kasi malapit na yung April, which is the filing of annual ITR. Ayan, and then you have business taxes. Ano ba ito? Bakit ibang tax mo siya sa income tax? Expanded withholding tax, and how does it affect me if I have contracts? And withholding tax on compensation or yung sa mga empleyado. Okay, sige. So, dito sa Pilipinas, on the deeper context for income tax, there are options of income tax rates. Dito mo na maririnig yung graduated income tax or 8%. Ano ba yung 8% income tax mo yun? Okay, you're in the context of discussing income taxes. When we say business taxes or sales tax for others, ayan, ito po yun that naririnig din nyo yung VAT or value-added tax. And then this is where you also hear percentage tax. So under business tax po yun. So we're going to clarify that later on. And then you have expanded withholding tax. Either you are the issuer of that or receiver. So na-define natin yan. And then withholding tax on compensation. Very straightforward naman to. Empleyado-employee relationship. All right. Now, unahin natin ang income tax kasi ito yung mainit na topic, lalo kung papuntang April 15 na, which is the deadline of the filing of taxes. Ayan, nalilito ako sa naitatago ito. Okay, so unahin natin yung 8% flat income tax rate. Okay, so ito ay naging mainit na topic, naging hot option. Well, personally, when I've encountered some taxpayers, kasi nung 2018 siya, masyado naging popular. So ano ba yung 8% flat income tax rate? This is an option for individual taxpayer. So pag individual taxpayer, ito yung mga sole proprietors and professionals, okay? With gross income less than 3 million. So meaning, pwede kang mag 8% if you are a sole proprietor or professional with gross income less than 3 million. May mga nagtatanong, or po ako pero one-person corporation eh. Pwede ba ako mag 8%? We haven't seen any document that says pwede kasi ang one-person corporation is still classified as a corporation. But in the safest context, what was stated was sole proprietors and professional ang pwede lang mag-avail nito with gross income less than 3 million. So if you haven't met any of the or kunyari isa lang and then you're earning more than 3 million, malamang di ka na pwede mag 8%. So these are the two conditions for that. Now, may I request the others to like put their microphone? The moderators to mute the microphone.
Sa Cortez. Mahal mo amo ang gapil balik sa.
Ayan. Sige. Again, reminder for others to keep your microphones on mute. Ayan, para hindi natin naririnig kung ano yung mga kalakaran. But we understand that some of you may be in conduct of your business ngayon, or probably some of you nakikinig habang nagluluto. It's fine. Para maintindihan natin. So we're going to simplify all of those things. So we just have to make sure that your microphones are on mute. So for income tax rate, ayan, naka 8%, pwede ka again pag ikaw ay sole proprietorship or professional. Paano ba ito kinocompute? Okay. So, wag lang po kayo malula, okay? Para maintindihan nyo lang yung context nito. So, paano siya kinocompute? If you are earning solely from your business or profession, that's gross sales minus 250,000 times 8%. So, ano ba itong 250,000? Ito yung lagi mong naririnig probably na kung ang kita mo ay 250,000 or below 250,000, yung income tax, that is not non-taxable in the income tax context. So, before po the train law, lahat po ng sales mo ay taxable. If you have a dependent, if I'm not mistaken, each dependent that you enlist, kung ikaw ay may anak, meron kang exemption na 50,000. Pag nag-anak ka ulit, meron ka exemption another 50,000. So, meron ang joke akong narinig before, mag-anak na tayo ng marami para mas mababa yung income tax. Pero that's not true today, okay? With train law, patas lahat, ikaw ay may anak, regardless of your gender and whatever political beliefs that you have if your income is 250,000 and below, that's non-taxable if you are earning solely from business. So that's gross sales minus 250,000. Saka ipo-compute yung 8%. Now, what if mas bababa po sa 250,000? Malamang yung computation magne-negative or zero. So wala na siyang kukompute ng 8%. So there are likelihood that when you file this form at mababa ang iyong income than 250,000, ang computation will arrive at negative or zero tax due. You still have to file the form, but at least wala kang babayaran. If you are a mixed income earner, gross sales times 8%, nasan po napunta ang 250,000? Okay, yung 250,000, if you are telling that you are a mixed income earner, sinasabi mo pong ikaw ay may employment at may business on the side. So, mixed income earner ka. So, yung employment po, by default, doon naka-apply ang 250,000 mo. So, if you declare on your tax form na mixed income ka, automatic pag nag-8% ka, gross sales times 8%. There is still an advantage to this because some professionals like it, very straightforward. Napapredict nila ang kanilang taxes. Again, requesting everyone to put their microphones on mute, okay? Or probably if the moderators can also mute the others. Okay, so gross sales times 8%. So automatic po yan kasi yung 250,000 is applied on your employment. But they like it because it's predictable, okay? And in this case, hindi factor yung purchases or expenses mo. So, mas madali i-predict. Especially for people, we've encountered professionals na nakikirenta lang po kasi ako, yung resibo hindi naman po sa akin. O sa internet ko po, hindi ko ma-declare na expense kasi hindi naman nakapangalan sa akin, nakikibayad na ako sa internet ng kita ko. So in that case, hindi mo siya ma-declare na expense. But in this case, mas madali na lang sa'yo to predict kasi from gross sales, alam mo na kung magkano yung 8%, you can prepare for it. The filing of that, filing is actually for income tax when you are registered. Ideally, it's really per quarter. You have Q1, Q2, Q3, and Q4. Sorry, wala siyang Q4, there's annual ITR. So for quarter 1, that covers the first 3 months. For quarter 2, that covers the second 3 months, plus kung magkano yung na-declare mo on your quarter 1. Quarter 3 would cover the 3 months nung third quarter, plus kung ano yung dineclare mong records on Q1 and Q2. And there's annual ITR, which collate all of the transactions that you have per year. So yung annual ITR, usually people comply with this kasi ito yung tinitingnan pag ikaw ay mag-a-apply ng loan or visa application. If ever you plan on doing travel outside the Philippines, tingnan kayo ng latest ITR ninyo. Or kung ikaw ay mag-a-apply ng loan, gusto mong magbahay or magsasakyan, isa din to sa tinitingnan. To really make sure that you are capable to pay for that kasi isa sa titingnan yung credibility mo as a professional or business. Ang advantage din ng 8% is that if ever may percentage tax na dilagay sa inyong certificate of registration, automatic ang computation, zero tax due. Okay, isa yun sa advantage. Kaya some professionals that I've talked to liked it kasi wala na silang percentage tax na babayaran. Straightforward po yung computation ng income tax. Kaya it has been popular. Yung iba, when they register, naka-indicate pa on their form na 8%. But according to the document of BIR naman, pag opt-in mo ng 8%, it's for that present year that you have indicated the 8%. The following year, you have an option to go for, another rate or 8% pa rin ba. But for the percentage tax, you can talk to your RDO if you still have to file the form. But ideally, yes. Ayan. Pero zero tax due lang siya if ever that form is indicated on your certificate of registration. Ayan na. So wag po kayo malula sa tax form. Ito po ay ang graduated income tax rate. And then under that, merong itemized and OSD. Okay. Unahin po natin ang itemized. Okay. So this is another option. So may option pala for income taxes. Totoo, meron po kayong option. And end of the year, you can evaluate kung best ba yun sa inyo or if you want to go for another option the next year, the following taxable year. So, paano ba ang itemized deduction? Okay. Ang itemized deduction, ang principle ng pag-compute ito ay gross sales minus gross purchase. Yung sales, yung pumasok na pera, and then purchases, yung sa mga expenses ninyo. Okay? So, gross sales minus gross purchases. Kung magkano yung taxable income, ibabangga po yan sa tax table. So, you will see here, okay, if it's 250,000 and below, makikita mo wala siyang kukumputan eh. Ayan. So, that's in line with, 250,000 initial non-taxable income. But if you go beyond that, ayan, meron na siyang level of computation. So, babangga siya sa tax table. So, there's no one formula for itemized deduction kasi magbabase din siya on your range of taxable income. So, paano mo makuha yun? Siyempre, titingnan muna kung magkano yung dineclare mong gross sales and purchases. So, ano ba ang principle makukuha natin for itemized deduction? Pag itemized deduction, the higher your purchases are for expenses, the lower your taxes are. Bakit? Kasi gross sales minus gross purchase. Mas mababa yun, mas bababa din yung income. But some people, and we'd like to be clear about this, the expenses or purchases that you can declare for this are expenses in line with your profession or business. And this has to be documented, meaning nakapangalan po doon sa resibo ang pangalan mo as taxpayer. Okay? Kung individual, nakapangalan sa'yo, nakapangalan sa business. Hindi po pwedeng kung ang business mo ay in line with internet o computer, computers, tapos may mga purchases ka ng mga diaper. Ang layo naman po, diba? So, dapat this has to be in line with your conduct of business or profession. Okay? And then, dapat meron po kayong official receipt that will substantiate, magpapatunay na talagang nakapangalan sa inyo yung resibo. Okay? And then, kung magkano yun, okay, that's when you check on your range of taxable income. Okay. So again, itemized deduction, the higher your expenses, mas mababa yung taxes ninyo. Okay. So for OSD naman, or optional standard deduction, ibang computation din po ito, and this is an option for others. Okay. Gross sales times 60%. Bakit 60% po? Okay. Kasi dito, you don't have to itemize your purchases. It says parang 40% went to expenses. Parang ganun yung logic for this. Kaya gross sales times 60%. Meaning, kung magkano yung dineclare mong sales po, 60% lang nun ang taxable. So, kung magkano yung 60% ng inyong gross sales na dineclare, babangga niyo po yun sa range of taxable income. Ayan. And then, that's when the taxes are computed from there. So, ang common tanong dito, pag nag-OSD po ba ako, di ko na po kailangan i-declare yung aking mga expenses. To answer that, on the computation of income tax, hindi siya factor. Okay? Hindi po siya factor. However, we encourage that you still record this kasi remember, meron ka pong books of accounts. Lahat po ng transaction, nire-record niyo pa rin doon. Okay? This is one of the reason why hindi na hinihinga ng financial statements yung mga individuals who go for OSD and 8% kasi wala namang purchases na kailangan mong patunayan. But for those na nag-itemize, yung option kanina, sila yung hinihinga ng financial statement. So, financial statement sa mga nag-itemize, audited financial statement for VAT payers and corporations. Okay. Segue ko lang konti sa corporations. If ever meron ditong mga naging probably part of the corporation, isa sa incorporators, paano ba to? Segue ko lang konti. Sa kanila, iba naman. The gross sales and gross purchase, then meron po silang, for corporations, may ibang rate or regular corporate income tax, which is at 30% kung regular. But during the pandemic, binaba po ito with create law to 20 or 25%, depende po sa category ng inyong corporation. For OSD naman sa mga corporation, that's gross sales minus cost of sales, or yung mga expenses that are directly related to producing the product. Kunyari, parang if nagpo-produce ka ng tinapay, kung ano yung raw materials sa tinapay na yun, pwede siyang cost of sales. Pero this will depend on your line of business. So it would help if you consult really kung ano yung mga expenses that you can declare as cost of sales. And then 60% of that, then meron din silang regular corporate income tax. Pag ang mga korporasyon po, the first 4 years ay talagang mahina, negative, walang kinita, probably they are filing the forms at zero tax due kasi nga, nagsa-start pa lang. But on the 4th year of your incorporation, from the date of your incorporation, meron na po silang tinatawag ng minimum corporate income tax, wherein 2% ng gross sales minus cost of sale kailangan mong i-compute. So either kung ano yung mas mataas, kung yung regular corporate income tax or minimum corporate income tax, meron at meron ng babayaran ng isang korporasyon on the 4th year from the date of incorporation. So medyo mas complicated po yung income taxes ng mga partnership and corporation, unlike dun sa individuals that I explained on the previous slides. So also, we'd like to remind you that isa sa factor ng pag-compute ng income taxes is Form 2307. These are credits as well na pwede nyo pong magamit. Kung magkano po yung withhold sa inyong business, are like advance payment of your income tax. So if ever may mga 2307 kayo, kasi nga makakabawas ito sa tax payable ninyo ng income tax kasi nga parang advance na siyang withhold sa inyo, you also have to submit some attachments with that. So next would be business taxes. Okay pa ba tayo? Ayan, dumadami tayo. I can see there are more than 180 participants already. So, business taxes naman tayo. Okay. So, here, we have value-added tax. Unahin natin yung VAT. So, that's under business or sales tax. So, you will see here a threshold number. If your gross sales or business sales are 3 million and above, usually for VAT ka na po. There are very, very few industries na kahit lumampas sila sa threshold, hindi sila pwedeng magpatong ng VAT. Ang example po dito that we've encountered is bigas. Okay. Okay. If ever people are on their touchscreen, kindly avoid writing po on the screen so that people don't get distracted. So we have VAT as well. Ayan. Again, ang reference niyo po pag ikaw ay VAT taxpayer ay nandun po sa slide that I showed kanina on your certificate of registration issued by BIR. Kung may nakita po kayong value-added tax, no, meaning ikaw ay isang VAT taxpayer. So paano po ba kino-compute ito? Okay. So you have output tax minus input tax. So output tax minus input tax. Ano po ba ang output tax? You have your sales, kano yung gross na kita mo times 12%. So this gives you that idea na kung magkano yung sales na i-declare ninyo for VAT, yung gross sales, 12% of that automatically is VAT. Okay, sales times 12%. The only way na pwede siyang bumaba is if you have purchases na merong VAT. Okay, so purchases times 12%. So for that period that you are paying, kung magkano yung output tax mo from your sales, pwede lang siyang bumaba kung within that period, meron kang mga purchases or expenses na may VAT. Paano po ba malalaman yun? If you are purchasing some products or goods for your business or profession at nakita niyo po sa resibo ninyo na meron pong VAT na pinatong, kung magkano po yung VAT na yun, pwede po ibawas doon sa inyong VAT taxes. Kasi nga, sales, output tax minus input tax, which came from your sales and purchases. So what if po wala akong resibo na merong VAT value? Wala pong VAT nakapatong sa mga maliliit na business po ako bumibili. Probably that will affect your income tax if you went for itemized. But in this case, hindi siya kasama. Kung ano lang yung mga purchases ninyo na may VAT, yun lang yung pwedeng magpababa sa VAT taxes ninyo. So some of the businesses na mga VAT, they go for partners na mga VAT din. So usually that's one of the things that they also consider na para bumaba yung VAT taxes nila, they look for suppliers that are also VAT. So that is on the discretion of the business naman. And that's one of the ways to minimize your taxes. And you have to make sure that there are receipts that you can secure na nakapangalan talaga sa inyo as taxpayer. So if ever wala namang purchases, automatically kung magkano yung dineclare yung sales, ayan, 12% agad. Paano po ba ang filing nito? Meron kang essentially activity per month. There's monthly, and quarterly. So the first 2 months, January, magpa-file mo the following month. February, pa-file mo the following month, which is March. And then on the April, there's a quarterly form, which is 2550Q, that will sum up kung ano yung activities mo for the first 3 months. And then that goes for the second month, monthly, monthly, quarterly, monthly, monthly, quarterly, monthly, monthly, quarterly. So essentially, kada buwan, meron kang VAT tax form na pinafile kung ikaw po ay VAT taxpayer. There's also what we call SLSP, or Summary List of Sales and Purchases, wherein BIR will be asking you to list down on a certain that file and submit on the validation kung sino yung mga transactions that you declare for your sales and your purchases. So, syempre, kailangan mo i-substantiate kung ano yung mga purchases and sales that you have for that. So, medyo mas maraming requirements for them, but that's really it. And then, you have your percentage tax. Okay. So, for percentage tax naman, ayan, for percentage tax, you have people or businesses, professionals, who are below the 3 million threshold pa for gross income. So that's gross sales, straightforward po ito, times 3%. This is on the regular rate. So kung ikaw po ay percentage tax filer, ito po yung tinatawag nilang non-VAT. Non-VAT po ako, meaning wala ka pong VAT. Pag nakikita mo walang VAT sa iyong COR, Certificate of Registration, percentage tax yung nakikita mo, pwede kang tawagin non-VAT. Okay. So, ito po gross sales times 3%. May nilagay po akong 1% dito kasi within the create period, that's from, if I recall correctly, July 2020 hanggang June of 2023, binaba yung percentage tax to 1%. So, yan po ay isa sa mga efforts ng government upang matulungan ang mga businesses at professional. Nung tayo ay affected ng pandemic, binaba nila to 1%. So, that's gross sales times 3% outside the create period, yung mga affected ng pandemic. But within the create period, that's 1% binaba po nila. And before, years ago, monthly po pinafile ito. Kung may makikita kayo before na forms na 2551M, noon po yun. Right now, quarterly na lang po pinafile ito. So you have your quarter 1, quarter 2, quarter 3, and quarter 4. So make sure na kung ano po yung mga gross sales na pinagde-declare ninyo sa inyong business tax ay tugma din po doon sa income tax ninyo. Okay? It has to be the same across all the forms para di po tayo magkaproblema kay BIR. Next po, we have expanded withholding tax. Very important lalo po sa mga kasama natin ditong raketera na usually may mga contracts sa mga companies as probably freelancer or supplier at nagugulat kayo. Bakit? Ang usapan namin 20,000 tapos nung natanggap ko yung bayad, yung mismong bayad, bakit may bawas? Kasi po required po malamang sila na mag-withhold ng taxes sa inyong transaction. So, ito po yung expanded withholding tax. So, pinakita ko po ito kanina kasi yung Form 2307, nakakatanggap po usually yung mga ahente pero hindi po nila naintindihan ano ba ang gamit ng 2307. So, again, on the simplest context, meron kayong contract of a certain amount and then, after which, nung natanggap mo, bakit po may bawas na, let's say, 1,500, 2,000, bakit po binawasan ng 5%, 10%? Probably because that company is required to file expanded withholding tax. May mga transactions sila na they can only declare as expense kung kanila pong winidholdan. Ang common po dito ay rental at professional fee. Yun po ang very clear. On the other transactions, probably you need to consult kung tatamaan din siya ng expanded withholding tax. But most commonly we encounter is professional fees and rental. So, yung i-withhold po sa inyo ay depende po sa tax code. Kasi meron, ang dami pong tax code sa Pilipinas. Even may tax code para sa mga basketball players, may tax code para sa mga nasa industry of show business, sa mga artista, may mga tax codes sa mga architects and lawyers, may specific tax codes po sila. And other than that, there are thresholds of income to be considered. Kung ikaw ba ay below this amount or that, there are certain percentages. So it's for you as a freelancer or supplier, you will have to depend on the tax code that was applied by the company na katransact niyo po kasi nasa kanila yung liability to apply the correct tax code. In this case, mababawasan na ng withholding tax, meaning kukunan na ng tax at i-remit na nila kay BIR a certain portion of your income as taxes. So para silang collection agent. Kukunan nila yung tax, yung transaction ninyo, i-remit nila kay BIR. This means, hindi ka pa nag-file ng income tax, alam na po ni BIR kung magkano yung iyong kinita. Okay? So, they already have a record because these companies remit these records, including, you know, your details to BIR. So you really have to make sure that you don't under-declare. Mag-declare po tayo ng tama kasi there are means, other means as well that BIR can check if you have transactions. And one of the things is this. So in that case, don't worry kasi kung magkano yung withhold sa inyo, let's say for example, 2,000 pesos, you can use this 2307 as credits, meaning on your income tax, meaning advance payment po siya ng inyong income tax. So all you have to do is include this in the attachment of your income tax at kung magkano yung value ng 2307, yung withhold sa inyo, mababawas po yun sa inyong income tax na computation. Okay? So on the context of the receiver, which I explained, ganito po siya, okay? Kung magkano yung income tax sa tax table, minus kung marami kang natanggap na 2307, may mga nakausap na po akong napakaraming racket, may mga 5 hanggang 6 na 2307 from different companies, you can use all of those. Kung may isa, that's fine as well. And this is the reason why you have SAWT or summary alpha list of withheld taxes na i-declare with your income tax form. Okay? Kung ikaw ay meron. Pag wala naman po, kasi wala kang 2307 na tanggap, then your income tax is just as straightforward as I have explained kanina. Okay. Next, on the context of the issuer, doon naman po sa company. Like I mentioned kanina, napakarami pong tax code sa Pilipinas. So, depende po kung ang wini-withhold na nila ay corporation, individual, magkano yung threshold of income. So, they have to find the correct tax code. Kung magkano yung ibabayad nila sa inyo as supplier or contractor, babawasan po yun ng withholding tax. That's the reason why di nyo matatanggap ng buo kung magkano yung nasa kontrata. And this is one of the things that you have to factor in whenever you do pricing. Kasi baka ini-expect mo malaki yung neto mo, kailangan mo yung pera. So you have to consider that whenever you do pricing as well. If ever you're looking forward to, you know, using the net income para sa kailangan ng iyong pamilya or kailangan mo, you have to factor that in. On the context of the withholding agent, doon sa company na iyong pinagtrabahuan or pinagsuplayan, may monthly activities din sila wherein they record and remit the taxes that they have collected from their rentals or contractors. Ayan, meron silang para siyang VAT, ano, monthly, quarterly. And they have this quarterly alpha list of payees. Kaya po nagre-remit sila kay BIR ng listahan ng kanilang mga withholdan at kung magkano yung kinita from the transaction. That's quarterly alpha list of payees. And they have this annual form or 1604E that will be submitted, that was submitted June or March 1, if I'm not mistaken, 1604E. So that's on the context of the issuer. Ayan, so I hope naliwanagan yung iba. And then, last one, withholding tax on compensation. And these are the taxes applied between the relationship of an employer and employee. So, like I mentioned, yung 250,000 tax deduction I apply by default on the employment, which is why if you declare yourself as a mixed income earner, yung 250,000 non-taxable income is applied on your compensation po. So kung ikaw ay empleyado at ang kinita mo ay 250,000 and below, you will expect na kung withholden ka on the first, on the initial months, ibabalik yun sa inyo kung if on the overall computation, di ka naman lumampas sa 250,000. On the employer side, nire-remit nila ang kanilang records of 1601C every month to BIR. And then, meron po silang annual form every January ng mga listahan. May attachment din po ito sa alpha list, listahan ng mga empleyado, magkano yung mga compensation and benefits they have included. And there's also form 2316. Yung 2316 po, includes a lot of the details, basic salary, de minimis, allowances, mga non-taxable incomes, contributions. Ayan po, napakarami pong factor na nilalagay on the 2316, which you will expect from your employer to issue every end of January the following year. There is a tendency na kung ikaw ay naglipat ng trabaho mid-year, makakatanggap ka ng dalawang 2316, which means ikaw ang kailangan mag-file ng iyong income tax. Okay. So, in this case, kung ikaw ay earning lang from your employment at wala kang ibang sources of income, pasok ka dun sa tinatawag din ng substituted filing, wherein when you declare that there are no other sources of income, sapat na yung report ng iyong employer from your 2316 sa kanilang submitted data. Ganito yung itsura niya. Pero kayo nasa search naman po yung form na ito online, so you will see the details. But those are the details that I've talk to you about. So there, mention ko lang po kasi we are an online platform, a tax software provider accredited by BIR, and how we simplify all of those things, it works on any browser. You can file and pay your taxes online. You can use your phone or your laptop. If you have web browser, that's fine. We can work with you. All you have to do is enter your income and expenses. Lagay nyo lang po. Kami na bahala mag-ayos nun. Ilalagay namin sa books of accounts. I-factor in natin sa inyong computation of your taxes. So you can record everything. Even if kakauwi nyo pa lang from the meeting, nasa taxi kayo, or nag-commute kayo pa uwi, pwede nyo nang i-record para di na kayo mag-worry kung paano hahabulin sa tax season, And there's a real-time tax calculation. So whenever you update your records, you will know ahead how much you have, tentatively, you have to pay. As long as you update, magko-compute din siya, meron siyang auto-computations. So it avoids tax shock. It allows you to project ahead and prepare ahead magkano yung babayaran ng taxes. And then it automatically fills out the form. Each of the forms that I talked about may iba-iba pong format. But with Taxumo, we automatically fill out those forms so you don't have to worry. And then we will be able to file that to BIR, remit that to BIR. And if ever meron po kayong tax due, we have other payment channels, and that includes the one that Attorney Chet mentioned, Paymaya and GCash. We also have them and other payment channels so that we can quickly file and pay online without lining up or going outside of your office or home. All right? And then you can also monitor if you're working with an accountant, meron po siyang delegate access where you can see kung lahat ba ay updated according to what you have discussed, or if ever you have other team members outside of your city, they can encode directly to your Taxumo account. You can cross-check as well kung nabayaran na. In fact, we have clients who are based abroad, and they have people here in the Philippines encoding their transactions for them. Tapos binabayaran na lang nila online kung sila man ay nagta-travel abroad. So you can also do that. So thank you, everyone. I hope you learned something from this, and I'm gonna turn it over to our moderator.
Thank you po for your very informative presentation, Ms. Santiago. I think we can all agree with Ms. Santiago that paying our taxes is not a burden but an opportunity. Good morning po ulit sa ating mga participants here in Zoom and to everyone joining us via Facebook Live. Let us now proceed po with our question and answer portion. Short reminder lang po sa ating mga participant to stay muted unless you are addressing the speaker and or the moderator directly. Please be also informed na makakapag-download po kayo ng copy ng presentation material after you accomplish the client satisfaction form that will be posted in the chat box section. Para mas maging interactive ang ating question and answer portion, we encourage everyone to click the raise hand button so we can call you to ask directly to our speaker. Pwede rin pong isend ang inyong question sa chat box. Let me check lang po if there are any participants raising their hand po. With that po, let me proceed reading the questions in the chat box. First question po from Kata N. Where do vloggers fall on this category po?
For vloggers naman, if you plan to register your profession, like I mentioned dun sa mga unang slide ng registration, pwede ka mag-register as non-licensed professional. So in fact, there are vloggers and bloggers who we know that have registered as such in professional. Pagdating naman po sa taxes, if ever on the LGU, meron lang kayong occupational tax receipt, but for BIR, you will have to check on the certificate of registration kung ano yung mga tax forms you need to file. But most commonly, and it's common to everyone, lahat po ng may kinikita may income tax. We have encountered some bloggers na may percentage tax din sila for their gross sales. But if ever some of them are beyond the 3 million threshold, talagang malaki na yung kinikita, probably there's VAT already. So the definite way to know that is really if you will register so that you know exactly kung anong mga forms and taxes ang kailangan mo i-comply. So I hope that addresses the question.
Thank you po, Ma'am Santiago. Let me call on po Ma'am Mercy Wine. She's raising her hand po. You can unmute po and ask your question directly to our speaker po. Ma'am Mercy. Naka-unmute po kayo but we cannot hear you po, Ma'am Mercy.
Hello.
Ayan.
Good morning po sa lahat. Mercy Wine po. Itatanong ko lang po doon sa ITR, hindi po ako masyadong na-clear doon. Hindi ko masyadong naintindihan. Kami po na small micro business, hindi po kami nagfo-fall sa 250. So ibig sabihin po ba exempted po kami doon?
Okay, sa mga businesses po, mga small businesses na hindi pa naabot ang 250,000 na threshold, we're just talking about income tax. Since all of the businesses are required to register, so on the context of income tax, ang principle po doon, and I mentioned kanina, you're still required to file kahit po mag-arrive at zero tax due. So on the income tax, hindi kayo umabot ng 250,000, if-file nyo pa rin siya, makikita doon sa form ninyo na bakit ba wala siyang binayaran. Kasi nga pala, yung kanyang gross sales ay less than 200, or taxable income rather, is less than 250,000. And that is fine. But at least, naging transparent ka kay BIR, and BIR requires that you file your income tax form. And also, remember that 250,000 is just on the context of income tax. Baka po may iba pang tax form that you also need to file and pay for. Malamang as business tax, since for small businesses, meron pa rin pong business taxes. But yes, on income tax, kailangan pa rin pong i-file even if you have zero tax due. I hope that clarified po.
Thank you po, Ma'am Melanie. Thank you din po, Ma'am Mercy, for raising your question. Next question po from Consumer Lani. Pwede na pong kumuha ng tin kahit wala pang work?
Okay, sige. There are actually wala namang restrictions in getting your tax identification number. Kasi may mga na-encounter kaming wala pang registered business, but students after 18 years old that are getting their tax identification number already. So in that case, what you're getting is your identifying number for taxes naman. So yes, feel free to do so. You can get that naman, your tax identification number. And if I'm not mistaken, there's also an online facility wherein you can apply for TIN so that you don't have to go to BIR naman. But if ever you need like a TIN ID, and that's a different scenario, you will really have to request. But yes, hindi po siya kailangang magrehistro ka agad ng business or profession when you get your TIN. So, iba naman po yan, and that is okay.
Thank you po, Ma'am Melanie. Another question po from Ma'am Lani. If nag-stop na ang business, do we need to cancel pa with DTI or just let the registration expire?
Okay, I think the best to answer that is from DTI. On our experience lang naman, if you stop the operations of your business and you formally close to other entities, at malapit ka na lang din naman sa expiry date, then probably you can wait. But I'm not sure, probably DTI can answer this, but on the ideal context, you have to cancel or close all your registration, and that includes DTI. So if ever, Ira, do we have another person who can answer that from your end?
With that question po, I suggest po that you follow our social media accounts po for tips po regarding Next question po, ma'am, from Ma'am Lani. Kailangan ba mag-register and pay tax for a hobby na kumikita din? But since hobby ay hindi naman palaging ginagawa, for example, baking or writing po.
Oh, interesting question. So, sa mata ng batas, kung ikaw ay in the transaction or in the context of business, kumikita ka, ideally, yes, you have to. But there are instances that you can, if ever, hindi ka muna nag-operate ng iyong profession or ng hobby mo or ng baking mo because you were employed, you can keep filing the tax forms that were required doon sa inyong COR at zero tax due. Hindi kayo nag-operate. So remember, if you have no operation or zero income, you still have to keep filing the forms required doon sa inyong certificate of registration at zero tax due. So pwedeng hindi mo siya isara. And then if ever on the months na, uy, I wanna bake again or I wanna write again, then meron ako, at least may resibo kang nai-issue kasi hindi ka naman nagsara. Mawithholden ka ng tama. At if ever, kung may income ka, i-declare mo lang siya on the certain month and period that you have. But on the context of hindi na talaga ako magbe-bake forever, wala akong income from this, pwede mo siyang isara. That's the time that you close it. But for others naman, there are people we've encountered that they registered that, tapos nag-rest muna sila, or nung pandemic, talagang walang transaction, file nyo lang po yung forms at zero tax due. Pag nag-operate na kayo ulit at okay na kayo, you can simply declare that again. So I hope that clarified your concern. Thank you.
Thank you po, Ma'am Melanie. Next question po. What about po ang mga kooperatiba? Ano ang mga requirements for them to operate?
Okay. Hindi siya kasama sa slides ko for cooperatives, but there is CDA or Cooperative Development Authority that you have to register as well. But on the context of taxes, dadaan pa rin po kay BIR yung mga cooperatives. And there are cooperatives that we have seen na meron pa rin pong certain tax forms that you need to require. So on the regulatory requirements, perhaps you can check on the cooperative authorities na kung ano yung mga regulatory requirements. But on taxes, meron at meron pa rin po. Unless na lang there is another revenue regulation that exempts them from doing so, depende doon sa activity ng cooperative, then that is a case-to-case basis na. Thank you.
Thank you po, Ma'am Melanie. Next question po from Louie Ayupan. Ask ko lang sa corporation, paano po ito mabibigyan ng resibo if yung kanyang business activity ay may retailing and services? Di po ba sole proprietorship, di pwede magkasama sa isang business name yung retailing at services like construction and hardware? Di ba OR receipt for services and sales invoice naman kapag retailing business?
Okay, sige. When you register po as a business entity, regardless if you are a sole proprietorship, partnership, or corporation, one of the things na hiningi, di ba? Feedback ba ako? Hello? Or is someone unmuted? Okay, sige. Ulitin ko po. When you register as a business entity, let's say for sole proprietorship, partnership, or corporation, one of the things na tinitingnan ng inyong RDO officer ay ang sample contract or portfolio of your business so that they make sure na kung ano yung scope of business ng inyong corporation or sole proprietorship is declared accordingly to your certificate of registration. Remember, meron po dong code for line of business and industry. So if ever merong multiple businesses, the RDO officer will then tell you if ever pwede ba siya on one registration at pwede ba siya on one registration or kailangang hiwalay. So that will be on the discretion na or on the rulings of the RDO officer that you will submit your requirements. If ever during your operation nag-expand ka to nagkaroon na ako ng ganitong retailing on the side, you have to update your registration. Balik po kayo sa RDO kung saan kayo nagrehistro. Sabihin niyo pong nadagdagan yung iyong line of business. They will be the one to tell you kung kaya siyang ipasok on your current registration or kailangang separate. Kasi nga, like you said, probably may separate receipts and transactions po siya. It doesn't really follow na dapat pag sole proprietorship ka, ito lang, or pag corporation, ito lang. The context is that, ano ba ang nirehistro mo kay BIR? Kung nadagdagan ng iyong line of business, you should update BIR so that they can tell you if this should be a branch of your business or pwedeng i-update yung iyong current registration at idagdag na lang siya. So, ganun po. In that context, syempre, depende doon sa decision nila kung pag i-consolidate mo on one registration, which they said, or kailangan hiwalay kasi nga branch of business. Kasi nga, in that case, hiwalay din po yung mga receipts. So, it's hard to answer that definitely kasi depende, marami pang ibang factors. But the best is really to talk to your RDO about it.
Thank you po, Ma'am Melanie. Next question po. Paano po malalaman kung expired na po ang books of accounts?
Okay. Ito yung nakakaligtaan ng mga taxpayer. Meron po doon sa inyong stamp na books, yung expiry date noon. If I'm not mistaken, that's 5 years, I think. Pero kung ang libro po ninyo ay puno na before the expiry date, pwede na po kayong mag-request ng bago. Ipapakita niyo po yung yung huling libro na napuno na siya. Bibili kayo ng bago, magsa-stamp sila ng bagong books of accounts. But if ever hindi po napuno, i-check niyo po, nandoon po yon sa libro kung ano yung expiry date. Or you can refer to your registration document. It's usually mga 5 years po yan from the registration if I'm not mistaken. But best to check kung ano pong nakalagay doon sa books ninyo na tinatakan po ni BIR.
Thank you po, Ma'am Melanie. Next question po, we would like to request Ms. Maxima Madera po to unmute and open your cam if possible po to raise your question directly to Ma'am Melanie. Ms. Maxima Madera, you can unmute your mic po. Hello po.
Hello? Hello po? Hello? Gusto ko lang pong malaman kung yung party po sa sa mix income po. Hindi ko masyadong maintindihan eh. Pwede po ba mag-expand sa mix income?
Okay, sige. Pag yung mixed income po, dinedeclare po siya sa income tax na form. Pag nakakita po kayo ng BIR form, meron po doong parang mga buttons or para siyang i-click ninyo kung ikaw ay earning solely from business or mixed income. Pag sinabi niyo pong mixed income kayo, sinasabi niyo po kay BIR, meron kayong employment outside doon sa ni-register ninyong profession or business. So pag clinic niyo po yung mixed income, in fact, on the form, magbabago yung computation niya. Kasi po, yung pag mixed income earner kayo, hindi nyo na po makikita doon sa computation ninyo yung 250,000. Meaning, kung kunyari po kumita kayo ng 100,000 lamang sa inyong business, nagulat kayo, bakit may tax akong babayaran? Kasi nga, probably, dineclare nyo pong mixed income. Yung 250,000 non-taxable income ay applied po by default sa inyong employment. So kung ano po yung kinita ninyo sa inyong business or profession, fully taxable na po siya. So hindi na po siya mag-a-apply doon na, uy, below 250,000 to, but may tax ako. Kasi po, mixed income earner kayo. Ita-tax po lahat yun. May follow-up question po ba kayo or malinaw na po?
Okay na po, okay na po.
Maraming salamat po.
Okay. Thank you po, Ma'am Melanie, and thank you din po, Ms. Maxima, for raising your question. For our next question po, from Queenie Del Castillo. Paano po kapag ang source of income ay purely by compensation as a job order in the government at hindi po aware sa mga need i-file na taxes?
Okay. Depende po iyon sa iyong kontrata, no? Kung job order, I assume this is not an employment, parang on contract kayo. So baka po mayroong withholding taxes na nai-apply sa inyong kontrata, sa inyong payment. In that case, kung hindi nila i-file yun, ikaw ang magpa-file nun as the professional being hired on the job order kasi withhold na kayo. You can just get the forms doon sa inyong job order kung may mga withholding taxes that you can attach. So kung pag-attach nyo doon, masyadong mababa or mataas yung withhold sa inyo than your net taxable income, then probably magzi-zero din yun or masyadong minimal na lang. Kasi nga, pag mga job orders, alam ko may mga withholding taxes din yun. But that is a case-to-case basis kasi depende kung ano yung setup ninyo ng kontrata. But on the context of what I know on job order, alam ko may withholding taxes. And the safest is to check kung fina-file ba rin nila, kasama ba sa contract na sila yung nag-file ng income tax niyo, or you have to do it independently.
Thank you po, Ma'am Melanie. Next question po from Consumer Lani. For those with mixed income, pwede bang yung compensation tax ang employer and ang mag-file at yung business ay ikaw na?
Okay, sa income tax po, pag ikaw ay mixed income earner, ina-attach niyo po yung 2316 na binigay ng inyong employer doon sa kinita. Kasi sa income tax niyo, if you are a mixed income earner, ang liability, the responsibility to file your income tax is yours. Kasi hindi naman po alam ni employer ninyo kung magkano kinikita niyo outside of employment. Ang filing po in the context of the employer is on the withholding tax on compensation. Alam na po ni BIR kung magkano yung sahod ninyo from your employment kasi sinasubmit nila yon every month, then may annual form sila. Pero, bibigyan ka nila ng form 2316 para i-attach mo siya doon sa iyong income tax form. Doon mo ilalagay kung magkano yung kinita mo from your business or profession, and then i-attach mo yung 2316 para ma-consolidate ng income tax form mo. Usually, it's form 1701 for mixed income earner. Maka-consolidate ng form na yun kung magkano yung dineclare from your compensation income, and then magkano yung from your business or profession. But in that case, dapat wala ng taxes from your compensation. Kinonsolidate mo lang yung reporting. So I hope that clarified the question.
Thank you po, Ma'am Melanie. Next question po from Celia Yao. How to verify T number? How to confirm with BIR if I paid through GCash?
Okay. Meron pong, ang alam ko may bagong platform si BIR for TIN verifier kasi usually pag mga nagre-register, nakakalimutan ang kanilang TIN. Kasi nga sobrang tagal na from their employment, probably there was a gap or nawala yung documents for some reason. You can visit actually any RDO kasi makikita naman nila kung merong TIN, or you can go online, meron pong TIN verifier that meron pong mga personnel doon that can answer questions kasi sila lang din yung may data, may access ng database nila kung talaga bang may recorded PIN ka na at kung ano yung tamang number for that. Now, on the context of, sorry, what was the second, yung follow-up question nun? Dalawang string of questioning.
How to confirm po with BIR if I paid through GCash po?
Okay. For GCash kasi, or on any BIR payment that you made, we encourage all taxpayer to save a copy. Itago niyo po yun, i-save niyo po, i-print niyo po. Yung iba nagsisave ng copy, nagpa-print pa kasi po meron doong reference number. So, that is the fastest way if ever papatrace mo kay BIR na ito po yung reference number. Pero hindi po siya ganun kadali kasi marami pinoprocess yung BIR office natin. So, hindi yung pagpunta nyo, mahahanap po kaagad. And there are also cases na nagbayad ka naman, nag-file ka naman, hindi makita nung kanilang system. Tawag doon open case. Kasi probably, merong iyong ibang payment channels, hindi pa na-consolidate for some reason on the records. It would really help if you keep a copy. Yun po yung ebidensya ninyo na if ever man sulatan kay ni BIR na, wala po kaming nakitang filing at payment ng tax na ito. Meron po kayong chance patunayan na, sir, ma'am, ito po yung proof ng aking filing at payment. Kung GCash man yun or kung anong ibang payment channels. And then from there, they can trace that faster. So I hope the others can also do that. I-record nyo po lagi. I-print nyo, i-save nyo po lagi.
Thank you po, Ma'am Melanie. Next question po from Jason Hilario. If I am a professional and having also a sole business, is it considered na po as mixed income?
Ang mixed income in the context of income tax filing ay employment, full-time employment, and you have your side gig, profession or business. But if you are a professional, let's say you're paid for your skill in your business, Ang next tanong doon ay, ano ba yung nirehistro mo kay BIR? Were you able to register your profession or your business separately? Then separate yung pagbayad ng tax ng iyong profession at business. Kung pinag-isa ninyo, kasi may mga nakita kaming writers and bloggers na they didn't register as a professional. Gusto nila business entity na because they wanted to hire people within their business para maging ano sila, parang firm for, blogging or whatever. Then if it's a sole proprietorship, if it's a business, then that is a business entity. So ganun din po yung pagpa-file ng taxes. So depende kasi siya sa konteksto of when you were registered. But to clarify, mixed income is a combination of other income sources plus full-time employment.
Thank you po, Ma'am Melanie. For our next question po from Vivo, ilang months ang pwedeng i-record sa book of account?
Yung books of accounts po require that you record your transaction from the day that was issued to you, yung registration. Or if ever there are people kasi na late nagrehistro, and then BIR found out na nag-operate na sa business, natagalan ng pag-process. So yung scope ng pag-operate niya sa business nakasulat doon. Wala pong we haven't seen any document that it says just for this month or this month. Kung if it's manual books of accounts, yung sinusulatan talaga, so long as mapuno. But I'd like to also introduce the others to the context of loose leaf accreditation, wherein yung mga businesses na ito ayaw nang magsulat manually on the books. Gusto na lang nila yung mga online platforms like probably Taxumo kasi we generate online books of accounts. Ipapa-accredit niyo po yun kay BIR. Once you are accredited to use that printed books of accounts ng online platform, ipiprint niyo na lang po iyon for the previous year. Isa-submit niyo siya on or before January 15 na naka-hardbound yung printed books ninyo. But on the manual writing of books, i-record nyo lang po, pag napuno na siya, request kayo ng bagong book. So long as na i-record po doon lahat. Nakamute po ata kay Miss Ira. Alright, yes.
Thank you po, Ma'am Melanie. Again, reminder lang po sa ating mga participants that you can click on the raised hand button to directly ask Ma'am Melanie your questions po. Next question po from Charlie Bagasbas po. Medyo connected po to sa question kanina. If I have two businesses, for example, realty and hardware, do I have to register it with BIR one by one?
Medyo, I cannot say definitely yes or no, but since medyo malayo, malamang sa malamang, hiwalay pag medyo malayo yung industry. But again, may mga specific, I do not memorize all the regulations of BIR, but usually, based on our experience, yung mga industries within one registration ay yung medyo related. Pag magkaiba siya, that's when we see that BIR requires the taxpayer na hiwalay yung registration. So the best way to answer that is really to talk to your RDO about it. But I can just answer you in the context of what we've seen so far sa mga nakausap namin.
Thank you po, Ma'am Melanie. Ayan po, let me call on po Mr. Terence Domingo po. You can unmute your mic and ask your question directly to Ma'am Melanie po.
Okay, good morning, Miss Santiago. I would like to just pose this question. This is not about me, but more like this is just a general query lang. What would be your suggestions for employees who were unable to get their 2316 when they change jobs mid-year? Like, there's sometimes kasi it happens na naglilipat ng trabaho pero hindi nabibigyan ng 2316. Kung hindi talaga makukuha ng 2316, two questions. Would you suggest kukunin sa RDO yung 2316 ng employee concerned? Or number two, i-estimate niya kung yung mga taxes withheld niya? Yun lang po. Thank you.
Okay. If ever you are in that situation at napakahirap naman, wala kang document na makuha kasi usually even if that the year didn't end na nandun ka sa company niyo, it should be that you were able to secure or probably like even if hindi nila ma-secure agad, dapat makakakuha ka talaga ng Form 2316. I would discourage estimation because we're not sure what was declared to BIR doon sa iyong employment. I think the best bet is to talk to your RDO about it kasi usually dapat doon ka sa RDO kung saan narehistro ang employer. If ever they are on a certain city, doon ka mag-check kung saang RDO sila na bebelong. Makikita mo yung jurisdictions of the RDO even online. And then you can ask there if ever they have records of the 2316. Kasi yung 2316 submission, ginagawa siya ng employer on or before February 28. Kino-consolidate nila yan, end of January, dapat binibigay to employees kung natapos lahat within that year. Ano? Pero lahat nung may mga 2316 for the year, dapat binibigay nila yon to BIR. There's a hard copy for it and a soft copy for it that they submit to BIR supposedly on or before February 28. So if ever, you can check your RDO on it kung may record sila doon. Kasi one, nag-submit ba talaga yung employer ninyo? If ever, at least, your RDO can coordinate with your employer na, walang submission nakita. And there's a relevant penalty for that, for each of the missed submissions. And then two, kung meron mang submission, at least makikita mo from there. You can request a copy. Alam niyo po, we encourage that you really talk to your RDO. Mga tao din po yun, huwag po kayong matakot. Nakakaintindi po sila ng mga ganong circumstances. Ipaliwanag niyo lang po, ganito po kasi nangyari, mahirap i-secure. There will be people there who will probably suggest some, other means if ever meron pang, baka may way pa to retrieve that easily. So, yun po on our end.
Thank you po, Ma'am Melanie, and thank you din po, Sir Terence, for raising your question. Next question po from Sweet Bites. Aside sa percentage and income taxes, kailangan din po ba namin mag-submit ng inventory list, sole proprietorship, non-VAT, 8% tax rate po kami?
Okay. On the forms and taxes that you need to file and pay for, ang pinaka-reference po natin ay kung ano ang tax activities na ilagay ni BIR sa inyong Certificate of Registration. Yung 8% po na sinasabi ninyo is just an option of the rate for income tax. On the other forms na kailangan mo i-file, i-check nyo po yung COR ninyo kung ano yung nakalagay doon. Kung ano po yung nakalagay doon, yun lang po ang kailangan ninyong i-file and pay. If ever nag-update kayo kay BIR, naging VAT kayo, kung ano yung latest Certificate of Registration, yun po yung basehan ninyo kung ano yung taxes na kailangan ninyong i-file at bayaran. So, we often encounter that question kasi nga parang there's no way to, ito yung line of business mo, ito lang yung taxes mo. Wala pong ganun. There are other ways that BIR assesses your industry to check if there are other tax forms that are required. So that's really a reference talaga. Kung ano yung in-issue kasi dun sa document na yun din yung naka-open sa database nila. So every time you file and pay, yun din yung mag-update. Yun din yung mga nasa recordings nila. So it really makes sense that you look for that document para alam niyo po exactly ano yung i-file at babayaran. So I hope that clarifies.
Thank you po, Ma'am Melanie. Next question po from Julieta Arteche. Good AM. Just want to ask how many days it takes to get ATP from submission of documents.
Oh, okay. Hindi ko po masasagot yan kasi there are RDOs who process faster at meron pong matatagal. There are reasons behind that. And if ever may nakita ako recently, RDO naglipat ng office. So probably that will affect some of the working days. They're also on the pandemic period, nag-skeletal force sila, so mas matagal yung processing. So I cannot really tell. There are documents published by the RDO, yung mga ideal dates, kung kailan dapat na ilabas. But I don't think that is applicable parang on that ideal level kasi depende talaga dun sa mga officers na magpo-process. So perhaps your RDO can tell you about it. Once you submit, pwede niyo po itanong, sir, most likely, kailan ba ako bumalik? Magsasabi naman po sila kung ano yung makatotohanan, yung realistic na processing dates based on, their operations. I can't really answer that kasi hindi po ako, I don't work for them po. But that's, based on what we've seen so far.
Thank you po, Ma'am Melanie. Next question po from KDS Estrella Castro. How to avail of the services of Taxumo?
Hi, okay. You can just visit our website, www.taxumo.com. Meron po doong sign up for free button. We encourage you that you go for that kasi free naman po mag-sign up. You can input your details there as a taxpayer. And meron pong chat box even on the website or on the app itself. So if ever gusto nyo munang mag-chat, our customer support will be there to assist you and check kung ano ba talaga yung kailangan ninyo. If ever they see na medyo ito ay more on the consultation, they can also refer you to our CPA consultants so that they can assess how exactly we can start helping you. But you can reach out to us po at taxumo.com. Search na po, it's there. And you can sign up for free as well. Thank you.
Follow-up question po, Ma'am Melanie. Magkano po ang fees or charges if we decide to get Taxumo services?
Okay, we have subscription plans that you can choose from. In fact, nag-vary ito kung depende sa inyong tax forms na binabayaran. Kung kayo ay naka 8%, usually if you wanna pay monthly, it's just 888 per month. Pero automatic na yung computation ng taxes, naka-format na yung books of accounts ninyo, naka-autofill na yung BIR forms ninyo, pati yung mga attachment, which if you do manually, I guarantee you it's very complicated. So, automated na po yun lahat, pati online filing and payment and recording. But if you are a micro business, may mga percentage taxes na binabayaran, meron kaming 1888, pero pwede pa siyang bumaba to a lower rate, depende if you go for quarterly, annual, or 2-year subscription. And then we also have our small and medium business plan for VAT taxpayer, which is just 2888 per month. Pero lahat po kasama na ng inclusions na yun, which is a really cheap price compared to you doing it manually po. But if ever, those are just the base rates. Bababa pa po yun. I encourage you to visit our website so that you can check how the rates will go lower if you go for a longer subscription. Naka-mute po kayo, Miss Ira, ha?
Oh, thank you po. Next question po from Miss Eileen Samson. If the person holds 2 different small businesses, how to file 171A?
1701A ba ito?
17018 daw.
Okay. Ang 1701A usually is assigned for professionals or business that are earning solely from their profession or business and have opted for 8% or the optional standard deduction. If you are interested, meron kaming ginawang Tagalog na guide for this on how to do it with Taxumo. Perhaps you can email me at melanie@taxumo.com so I can guide you. Pero yung form po na yun specifically for those na nag-OST and 8%. If other than that, malamang if you're a mixed income earner or nag-itemize, it's Form 1701. Now, kung anong business mo, kunyari, dalawang business, we fall again to the question of were they separately registered or nasa isang business ba yun at i-consolidate ba siya? So perhaps we can discuss that privately as well.
Thank you po, Ma'am Melanie. Time check po. It's already 11:50 a.m. po. Last 2 questions na lang po from our participants. We apologize po that we can only accommodate few questions because of our limited time po. Next question po from Novelin Moreno. Hello po, Ma'am Melanie. Kung mag-change po ng location ang business, pero same city lang din ang area, kailangan ba mag-register ulit po?
Okay. There are instances na kung within the same jurisdiction naman ng RDO at LGU, mag-update lang po kayo ng address. Lalo na yung sa mga businesses na sa kabilang building lang lumipat, i-update lang po yung record na yon. But if it's on another city or RDO, then probably your registration has to be transferred. Pero kung within the same jurisdiction lang po, usually update lang po yun kung ano yung exact address. And then usually pinapamapa kayo, papadrawing kayo ng map. Or sa mga techie people, mag-screenshot na lang ng Google Map or Google Earth para i-print na lang yun at malaman nila exactly kung saan yung bagong office. Kasi kailangan po din po yun sa mga fire safety inspection, sanitary inspection ng LGU, kailangan din po yun. And CBIR po, nagsusulat na minsan to the taxpayers, lalo pag may mga deficiencies and open cases. So it's important that you also update your address para hindi niyo po ma-miss out yung mga letters na yun. Kasi usually, ang mga letter na yun, bibigyan lang kayo ng 15 days to respond, mga ganun. So pag na-miss out ninyo, di ba, parang it's gonna be a concern talaga. So important to update that as well.
Thank you po, Ma'am Melanie. Next question po, from Charlie Bagasbas. Hanggang magkano lang ba ang rental income na wala pang tax?
Rental income na wala pang tax. In the context of tax, medyo iba-iba kasing taxes, no? As far as I know, may clear documents sa BIR na may withholding tax applied if it's rental by nature, yung context ng business. But in terms of taxes, siguro it has to be dealt on ano bang tax form are you talking about? Kasi may mga specific, hindi siya papatungan ng VAT if ganitong value lang yung renta, hindi siya papato. Pero on the income tax, syempre, may tax pa rin yun kasi income mo yun. So, it has to be dealt on the different context of taxes talaga. Perhaps, if you really want to go in-depth, paano kinocompute yun, I would suggest that you book a consultation with our CPA consultant para they can see the contract na meron ka, kung ano yung registration mo. And they can tell exactly from there, paano kinocompute yung taxes. Kasi I cannot answer that, just by the general context. Dapat mabusisi para alam natin exactly. So, if you don't know any accountant, you can go to our website, taxumo.com, and click on Taxumo Consult. Yung consultation po na yon is just gonna be online as well. It's at $20, more or less, 1,000, but 45 minutes na yun. Sulit na sulit. You're talking to an expert already. You're talking to an experienced accountant, so you can address your questions there. And you don't have to hire them. You can just consult them whatever you need. So, I encourage you to do so para ma-check yung documents niyo talaga.
Thank you po, Ma'am Melanie. Meron po tayong pahabol na question, Ma'am. Last question po from Creative Studio. Paano po kung yung mga purchases po ay wala or ayaw mag-release ng resibo ng tindahan? Paano i-file or mag-file ng tax or computation ng tax pag hindi official receipt ang binigay ng suppliers?
Ay, okay. Ayoko naman mag-encourage, pero may means kasi si BIR, pwede niyo po i-reklamo yung mga ganon. Kasi, in fact, that's your right as a consumer to get a receipt. Correct, di ba? DTIVs, that's why there are registration entities to make sure that your right as a consumer is protected. You can go to that level. Pero syempre, kung may mga, kasi mga transactions na, ay, okay lang po, tita ko kasi yun, or barkada ko nagsisimula pa, then the risk there is that you cannot declare your expenses because it's not properly documented. When we say purchases and expenses, if ever kayo po ay ma-audit ni BIR, ang i-acknowledge lang po nila ay yung mga resibo that are official, okay, and that are named to you as the taxpayer. So you might as well, if you really want to make sure na walang butas ang inyong tax filing, i-declare ninyo yung documented or magiging mapili na kayo doon sa mga legit na suppliers. That's also one of the reasons why we encourage you to register and file your taxes accordingly. Because a lot of the big companies are very particular that you are a legitimate taxpayer at yung resibo na nai-issue ninyo are something that they can declare to BIR. That's why we encourage you to register so that you can get bigger clients, to file your taxes accordingly so that you can avail for loans and, visa. So, ganun po siya. That's how the government regulates everybody. It's not just, for you as a taxpayer na para ma-build yung tax credential mo. It's also to protect your consumers, diba? So, ganun po siya.
Thank you po, Ma'am Melanie. Maraming salamat po sa mga nagtanong at mga nagtatanong pa. Again, Ms. Santiago, thank you for answering all the questions. We hope na marami pong natutunan ng ating consumers ngayong umaga. Before we close this session, may we ask po Ms. Santiago kung saan po kayo pwedeng makontak ng mga participant para sa other concerns nila and to give a short message for our participants.
So, thank you everybody for attending this. Hindi po, like what we've been telling on the other webinars, hindi po natutunan ang taxes in one sitting. It will take time, but you can always, talk to us If ever may mga confusion kayo, you can contact us at customercare@taxumo.com, or you can email us at melanie@taxumo.com, or visit our website taxumo.com and click on the chat box. Kami po ay mga mabubuting taong magpapaintindi sa inyo. And our commitment is really to simplify the tax compliance here in the Philippines para mas madaling mag-comply kung naiintindihan niyo po. Thank you for having us, DTI, and we applaud this endeavor in educating our consumers as well.
Thank you po, Ms. Santiago, and thank you again to Taxumo. This is to formally close our webinar for today. Muli, maraming salamat sa ating very capable speaker ngayong umaga, Ms. Santiago. At mula po sa Consumer Protection Group, maraming salamat po sa ating mga participant na nakasama natin ngayong umaga. Huwag niyo pong kalimutang samahan kami muli sa aming mga susunod na webinar kung saan pag-uusapan natin ang iba pang mga tips para sa ating mga consumer. Our announcements will be posted in our social media accounts. For more updates, please like, follow, and subscribe to our Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and YouTube account, DTI Consumer Care and DTI Philippines. Also, kindly accomplish and submit the survey form para makakuha din po kayo ng link at para ma-download ang presentations na ginamit ngayong umaga. Thank you so much, everyone, and stay safe.
Para sa ating mamamayang Pilipino, para iwas daya dapat wais at alisto. Mainam maging mapagmatsyag at mapanuri tayo. Palakasin ang boses ng ating mga consumer. Dapat tama bawat presyo at serbisyo. Produktong pasado, lalo ang mga pangunahing bilihin. Ang kalidad ng mga produkto at serbisyo ay pangalagaan ng lahat. Tayo ay panalo. Layunin ng DTI ito.
Ipatupad Price Act 7581, Consumer Act 7394, Product Standards 4109, for Consumer Care at iba pa, tayang 1384.
Ipalaganap karapatan at tungkulin, kaalamang tama sa consumer ibahagi. Tulay sa kaunlaran, kalakalan ay palakasin. Ito ang pagbabago para sa ikabubuti natin. Dapat tapat bawat presyo at serbisyo. Produktong pasado, lalo ang mga pangunahing bilihin. Ang kalidad ng mga produkto at serbisyo ay pangalagaan ng lahat. Tayo ay panalo. Layunin ng DTI ito.
Ipatupad Price Act 7581, Consumer Act 7394, Product Standards 4109, for Consumer Care at iba pa.